Hi everyone. We often imagine toxicity as something loud, shouting, slamming doors, violent tempers. But the truth is, some of the most damaging people in our lives don't raise their voices at all. Some of them smile while they break you. They laugh while you question your worth. They offer help with one hand and hold you back with the other, and you don't even realize it. Not at first. Because they don't wear the mask of a villain, they wear the face of someone you trust. Toxic people are not always enemies. Sometimes they're friends. Sometimes they're family. They're the ones who say, "I'm only telling you this for your own good," right before they tear apart your confidence. They're the ones who say, "You're too sensitive," after they've hit you with words that left invisible bruises, and because they don't shout, because they don't throw things or threaten to leave, you convince yourself it's not that bad. But deep inside, you know something is wrong. You feel tired around them, but you call it normal. You feel anxious before meeting them, but you call it overthinking. You feel unsupported, but you excuse it as they're just busy. Your body knows. Your spirit knows, but your mind tries to rationalize. Because we are taught to keep the peace, to not judge too quickly, to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially those who say they care. The truth is, toxicity isn't about what someone says, it's about how they make you feel. And it's not always about what they do, it's about what they take away from you in the process. Do they take your joy? Do they make you doubt your achievements? Do they shrink your dreams into something small enough to keep you near them? Do they make you feel like you owe them your happiness? What makes it even harder is that toxic people can be incredibly charming. They know how to say the right things at the right time. They'll praise you publicly and privately plant seeds of self-doubt. They'll make you feel special one day and invisible the next. And you'll spend days trying to earn back their warmth, not realizing it was a game from the start. That is not love. That is emotional control. That is how you lose yourself. Not all at once, but in small pieces until you're just a shadow of who you used to be. You start second-guessing your every word. You apologize more than you speak. You become quiet in rooms you once lit up. You walk on eggshells in your own life. And the saddest part is, you think you're the problem. That somehow you're not trying hard enough, loving deeply enough, being patient enough, but the truth is, the weight you're carrying was never yours to begin with. No one, not a partner, not a parent, not a friend, has the right to erode your self-esteem in the name of connection. No one who truly values you will make you feel like you're too much and not enough at the same time. Real love doesn't play tug-of-war with your emotions. Real people don't need to hurt you to feel strong. Toxic people are often hurt people, but that does not make them safe people. We can feel compassion for their pain without letting it become our prison. It's okay to recognize someone's struggles and still choose distance. It's okay to acknowledge their humanity and still protect your peace. You don't need their permission to free yourself from a connection that's been quietly killing your joy. And if you feel guilt for walking away, that's normal. But please don't confuse guilt with weakness. That guilt is often the last chain they placed around your heart, making you believe that choosing yourself is wrong. It's not. It's necessary. You were never meant to be the healer of everyone who wounds you. You were meant to grow, to rise, to shine. And sometimes, that means letting go of those who dim your light in silence. Listen closely, not to their words, but to your feelings. Your inner peace is the most honest signal you'll ever get. When someone's presence feels like a burden, when their love feels like a test, when their support feels like control, that is not your tribe. That is not your safe place. That is not your forever. There are people in this world who will only feel tall when they make you feel small. They won't shout, They won't argue. Instead, they'll chip away at your confidence in subtle, almost invisible ways. One comment here, one sarcastic remark there, and slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to shrink. You begin to question your dreams, your ideas, your value. And what's even more heartbreaking is that many times, these people are the ones you thought would lift you higher. They come disguised as friends, mentors, sometimes even lovers. They act like they're helping you become realistic when, in fact, they're pulling you down to match their own fear. They say things like, "Are you sure you can handle that?" Or, "Don't get your hopes up too high." And they make it sound like concern, but if you listen closely, their words are laced with doubt, not care. It's not about your growth. It's about their comfort, because when you rise, they feel left behind. It's not always out of hatred. Sometimes it's insecurity. Sometimes it's jealousy. They don't even understand themselves. But the effect is the same. You begin to feel unworthy. You start asking for permission to dream. You tiptoe around your goals. You apologize for your ambition. And when you achieve something, instead of celebration, you're met with silence. Or worse, with subtle ways of being pulled back down. You don't need to be loud to walk away from people like that. You don't need revenge or a dramatic exit. You just need clarity and courage. The clarity to recognize what's happening, and the courage to choose yourself even when it feels uncomfortable. Walking away doesn't always mean you hate them. Sometimes it simply means you've decided to stop giving your energy to people who never respected it in the first place. When someone makes you feel small, it's not your job to convince them of your worth. It's not your job to stay and prove that you're deserving of kindness. That's not a relationship, that's a battle. And battles leave scars. If being around someone makes you feel drained, second-guessed, or constantly on edge, you are not in a healthy connection. You are in survival mode. And no amount of loyalty is worth your peace of mind. You can love someone and still walk away from them. You can forgive someone and still choose not to let them back into your space. Emotional maturity is knowing when to hold on and when to release, not with anger, but with grace. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to say, "This no longer feels like love, and I will not shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone." People who truly care for you will never require you to make yourself smaller so they can feel bigger. They won't compete with your light. They'll celebrate it. They won't mock your dreams. They'll protect them. And they won't punish you for having boundaries. They'll honor them. Those are the people who deserve a seat at your table. Sometimes we stay too long in places that drain us because we're afraid of being seen as ungrateful or disloyal. But the truth is, loyalty to yourself must always come first. You were not put on this earth to constantly prove that you're good enough for people who refuse to see it. You were not born to keep editing yourself to fit into someone else's story. You have your own story. You have your own voice, and you have every right to protect it. So many of us have been conditioned to believe that choosing ourselves is selfish, that walking away is giving up, but that's not true. There is no strength in staying where you are, constantly belittled, criticized, or emotionally manipulated. Real strength is in saying, "I deserve more than this," and choosing the path that honors your worth, even if you have to walk it alone for a while. Relationships. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not too ambitious, too sensitive, to anything. You are just not meant to fit into spaces that were built to keep you small. So if someone is more comfortable keeping you beneath them than beside them, let that be your sign. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to say no more. Respect yourself enough to leave the room where you are constantly being asked to shrink. Because one day you will find people who don't just tolerate your fire, they will fan it. They will remind you that your light was never meant to be dimmed. Real love is never something you should have to earn. Kindness is not a prize you compete for. And yet, too many of us find ourselves in relationships, whether with friends, family, or partners, where we are constantly made to feel like we must work to be loved. We walk on eggshells, we silence our needs, we bend ourselves backwards just to receive a fraction of warmth, a moment of approval, a glimpse of affection. That's not love. That's emotional survival. There comes a point when you realize the people who truly love you won't make you beg for the bare minimum. They won't withhold kindness like it's a trophy for your best behavior. You won't have to explain why your pain matters. You won't have to fight to be heard or seen. Because people who carry love in their hearts don't wait for the right moment to show it. They express it because they want to, not because you've earned it. When someone cares about you, it shows in the way they speak to you, not just when things are good, but especially when they are not. Real love shows up in hard moments. It doesn't run, it doesn't manipulate, it doesn't go silent just to punish you, and it never uses your vulnerabilities against you. But toxic relationships do. They use silence as a weapon. They make your needs feel like burden. They condition you to believe that love is conditional, that you must act a certain way, think a certain way, even feel a certain way to stay in their good graces. This kind of treatment doesn't always leave bruises you can see, but it leaves scars on the soul. You begin to believe that you're hard to love. You begin to think that maybe you are too much, too emotional, too intense, too needy. But what if the truth is that you're just surrounded by people who never learned how to love in a healthy way? What if the problem isn't that you expect too much, but that you've been accepting far too little? No one should have to fight to be treated with basic respect. You shouldn't have to convince someone that you matter. If they truly see you, if they truly value you, they will not keep you guessing. You won't lie awake at night wondering what you did wrong. You won't send messages that go unanswered, only to be met with cold indifference later. You won't feel like you're walking through a minefield, terrified that one wrong word could cost you the entire connection. Sometimes we stay in these spaces because we believe we can fix it. We believe that if we just love harder, give more, wait longer, things will change. But love is not a test. You shouldn't have to constantly prove that you're worthy of being treated with gentleness. And if someone can only offer you love after you've suffered, after you've stayed quiet, after you've made yourself small, then that love is not safe. It is not real. It is a performance built on control and convenience, not care. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't keep score, the kind that doesn't disappear when you make a mistake, the kind that allows you to show up as you are, imperfect, emotional, evolving, and still be met with compassion, because that's what real love does. It doesn't ask you to beg for understanding. It offers it freely. There's a kind of healing that comes when you finally stop chasing people who make you question your worth. There's a peace that enters your life when you no longer tolerate being an option in someone else's life. And it's not always easy. Letting go of someone you love never is. But what's harder is staying in a space where you are unloved, unseen, and slowly forgetting who you are. It takes courage to choose yourself. It takes strength to say, I won't let someone else's lack of love teach me how to treat myself. And even if it feels lonely for a while, even if the silence feels louder than their absence, it is still better than begging for crumbs when you were born to be whole. There is no award for suffering in silence. There is no badge of honor for enduring emotional starvation. You don't become more lovable by staying where you are not valued. You become more you, more true, more alive, when you decide that your heart is too sacred to be mishandled. And the people meant for you will never ask you to suffer just to keep them close. So, let this be your gentle reminder, you are not too much and you are not asking for too much. Real love does not demand your silence, your suffering, or your surrender. It welcomes your truth, your strength, and your softness. The right people will never make you chase their affection or beg for their kindness. They will offer it freely and consistently. You are worthy of love that feels safe, support that feels steady, and connections that bring peace, not pain. Don't be afraid to let go. Because in choosing yourself, you open the door to something better.